I did.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sarah Smith and I'm a horticulturalist here at Rogers Gardens, and today I'm talking to you about the plant of the week. Today's plant of the week is the dahlias. It's a dahlia, specifically the Cafe Au Lait dahlia. These are large, beautiful dinner plate style dahlias. They're so pretty. They are so totally on trend right now, this color. They're so versatile. They're so amazing. They're great in your garden. They're great as a cut flower. So I'm going to talk everything dahlias. I'll talk to you a little bit about them, how to take care of them, and then hopefully get all of your questions answered as well. So we are featuring this gorgeous, super beautiful, huge Cafe Au Lait dahlia. Look at the size of these plants. These are absolutely beautiful. Just in general, these are nice, big, really full, super healthy, gorgeous quality dahlias that we're carrying right now. They are an exclusive color to us, so we have them grown specially for us. And the Cafe Au Lait dahlia is this beautiful, gorgeous color. They're always kind of changing. Every bloom is a little bit different. The reason these dahlias have become so popular is that they're like a florist favorite and absolutely a bridal favorite for bouquets, for bridal bouquets. Every flower, like I said, slightly different. So they're this gorgeous kind of cream beigey color. Some of them have a lot of pink blush to them. Some of them have more of the apricot color. Some come out a little bit more white. So from flower to flower, even just like a handful of these flowers, right there, boom, you have a bouquet. It's super amazing. And then in the garden, there's such an easy flower to match into a lot of different color palettes. So they're really versatile in that way. The flower is huge. As they get bigger, you'll get even bigger flowers as they mature. They can honestly measure up to like 8 to 10 inches across, which is absolutely fantastic, and takes up such a huge spot. And dahlias in general are such great cut flowers. So if you grow flowers at home to cut for your garden, this is a staple. It will fit into everything that you do. Very classic, very clean. You can do the kind of wild bohemian kind of vibe with it, or you can do a very clean classic arrangement with it as well, depending on what flowers you use. And they cut really well. They usually have a very long stem to them. If you're cutting them, I suggest cutting them when they're probably about 3/4 of the way open. What you're going to look for is on the back area. You're going to make sure that the back petals that you see don't look dry and papery. As long as they don't look dry and papery, they're ready to go. If they're dry and papery, they might not last as long, but they still are so beautiful to bring inside. So I rather bring my flower inside towards its end of its life and let it kind of fall apart in my home versus letting it fall apart in the garden. That way I get to see it all the time. It's really a good idea to deadhead your dahlias as well. So as I'm deadheading, I'm picking and choosing ones to bring in my house. The more you deadhead, which basically means moving flowers that are spent or about to be spent, the more flowers you're going to have. So that's a great way to prolong it, to also make your shrub really nice and bushy as well. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win in the garden. It's a win-win for your house. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Dahlias are a really easy plant to grow. So if you've grown plants in the past, if you've grown any dahlias in the past, you know how that works. But growing a dinner plate dahlia is so showy. So if you haven't done it, or if you've grown any kind of bulbs, come down and get one of these, because this will make you feel like the master gardener. It's really amazing. They're really simple. They really start blooming in the summertime. They'll start in the spring through summer to fall. The dinner plate dahlias typically, in the Cafe Au Lait specifically, get to be about 3 feet tall or so. So they take up a really big space, but they're so simple. So they're not really a bulb. They're actually a tuber. So when you get them, they look kind of like a bunch of bananas. They're very interesting looking tubers. And when you put them in the ground, you do this typically in the springtime for your summer flowers. So these are the things that we're going to sell with our spring bulbs. So if you didn't get any bulbs, don't worry, because we have them started for you, and these will come back for you as well. Not all bedding dahlias always come back, but these types and these specifically, the way they've been grown for us exclusively, these will come back for you. If you've lived back east in the past and you feel like, I don't really want to do dahlias because it's kind of a hassle. You have to dig them up every year and store them someplace. welcome to Southern California. You don't have to do that, which is really, really amazing. So all you got to do is get them in the ground and leave them in the ground. You don't have to dig them up. We don't have freezes, so we don't really have to worry about that. You want to make sure that you plant them in an area where you're not going to overwater them when they're dormant, but you really shouldn't be overwatering your garden in the winter anyways. So if you're doing it right, you're doing it right, and these are going to come back for you every single year, bigger and better, which is really great. With the dahlias, care-wise, they want to be in a full sun location. So you want to make sure they're getting at least 6 hours of sunlight. They want to be in well-draining soil because they are a tuber. You don't want them to rot out and be in too wet of soil. So I plant my dahlias between my roses. If you can successfully grow a rose, you can absolutely successfully grow a dahlia. They're great to grow in between your roses too. So then you have beautiful roses and flowers at the same time. My whole rose and dahlia area looks like a living bouquet. It's really great. So planted in between your roses, absolutely a perfect spot, because you'll be cutting down your water in the wintertime. You're making your dahlias happy as well. With the fertilizers and things and in any kind of common pests and issues we may have with dahlias, it's pretty rare to have issues, but there are some things that we can have. When it comes to fertilizing, I fertilize the same thing I fertilize my roses with. How convenient, they're all together. This is the Down to Earth. If you've watched any of these live streams in the past, you know that both Suzanne and I absolutely love this stuff. This is the rose and flower mix from Down to Earth. This is so easy. It's a granular. You just put down 1/2 of a cup to 1/4 of a cup per rose and per dahlia, and you just sprinkle it underneath and let it work its way naturally into the soil. You can mix it in a little bit. Say you have mulch there, you can maybe pull your mulch back a little bit and put it underneath the mulch. That's not totally necessary, but it helps get the fertilizer into the ground a little bit faster. I always like to tell you guys, and this, I should have a pin eventually that says I'm a lazy gardener because I have such a big garden. Everything I like to do really simply, or otherwise I'd be out there for like 3 or 4 days. So I just throw it on the ground, water it in, walk away. The extra thing that I like to do is I like to use the Malibu compost tea. I use this on my roses anyways, so it makes it very convenient for my dahlias as well. I use this, a lot of people are using this once a month. I use mine about every other month because I'm so religious about fertilizing. I fertilize once a month. I always do it at the first of the month just so I remember. With the compost tea, I do this every other month. So this is very simple. It's a little tea bag inside here. There's about, I think there's 4 in each bag. Yeah. I put it in a 5-gallon bucket. I let it sit overnight. I throw my granular fertilizer down. I use the water from that bucket to water that fertilizer in. And I do that every other month on my roses and on my dahlias. When I do this, this is the only really exception to getting your foliage wet. I actually like to kind of get it on my foliage. It makes a good foliar spray. Lazy gardener, I don't like to put it in a spray bottle and spray my stuff down with it, but when I water, I kind of splash it around and get it on my flowers. I do that early in the morning. I never do that at nighttime. You never want to get your foliage wet at night, but this is the rare case where I'm going to tell you, go ahead and get your foliage wet, because the foliage actually really likes this and can take up the nutrients in here. This is really great. So if you're already fertilizing, which is awesome, add this to the mix. You will really find that it makes a huge difference. Malibu compost tea and the Malibu soil is really an amazing product. The company is a really great company. I love supporting them. They're a biodynamic farm that makes this. So it's a really kind of great thing to add to the mix, and you will absolutely notice a difference. I got a free sample of this when I first started working here. I used it once and I was an addict. I'm completely addicted. It's really amazing. So you will notice a difference and you'll become an addict too. So the other thing that I do always keep on hand, this is the Safer Rose 3-in-1 spray. I'm really coastal, so I sometimes get a little bit of powdery mildew on my dahlias. Also too, I do notice that I'll get a few aphids here and there, and sometimes I'll even get some caterpillars. This is a really great product because it has 2 ingredients on here, so it kind of works on just about everything. This is going to work on your powdery mildew, rust on roses, powdery mildew on your dahlia or your roses, black spot. This will also work on all the soft-bodied insects, so all of your little sap-sucking aphids, and whitefly. Sometimes I'll get some whitefly on here too. So this works on everything. So it's a great thing to have just in stock all the time, because if you see a problem, and even if you don't exactly know what it is, this will probably cure it, which is pretty nice. If you're really concerned, you're not sure what it is, come and talk to us. We can give you a diagnosis. But this is a really great product to have. I didn't bring my personal pair, but we do sell these here. These are thinning shears. So when you are deadheading or you're cutting to bring stuff inside, these are a really great one to have on hand. My regular pruners are kind of big and bulky, and I don't like cutting back for either bringing inside or just general deadheading with that, because I have accidentally, you'll notice when you look at a stem, your first opening dahlia is going to have a couple of little buds next to it, and I can't tell you how many times going too quickly, not being thorough enough, I've gone in to deadhead the one that's starting to get spent, and I accidentally break the little bud next to it, and it's heartbreaking when that happens. It's like soul crushing. So having something like this, these are nice and long and thin. This makes deadheading so much easier. So it's really nice to have two on hand, and we sell these here. This is a really great investment for any kind of deadheading you do for roses, dahlias, anything like that. It just makes it so much easier, and you don't run the risk. The ends are kind of rounded too. That's also really nice, because I have used scissors in a pinch, like kitchen scissors, and because it's so sharp and pointy, I've accidentally torn holes into the leaves. So this is a really great thing to have on hand. Going back to talking about using these, mixing them into your garden or even in bouquets, there's a lot of roses that we currently sell that pair up so well. And as I was walking through the garden this morning and just looking at everything, I was getting really excited about talking about these Au Laits, because the color is just so great. Look at these roses. These are 3 different types of roses we sell here. Aren't those absolutely gorgeous? And don't they pair up so well color-wise with these? I just love it. So I had to pull these just to show you this morning as I was walking around and really thinking, but that color combination is so great. This is my all-time favorite rose. I think it's Suzanne's too. This one's called Distant Drums. This one's just starting to open. As it opens, it's even more apricot-y colored inside. But depending on the color of your dahlia, really no matter what color your dahlia is, it goes really nicely, but sometimes they pair really, really well together. The more kind of beigey you can kind of get. So this one here is Distant Drums. This one I just got introduced to last year. This one's very similar, but opens up bigger and has more petals, has a little bit more of that old-fashioned style as it opens. This one's called State of Grace. This one's absolutely beautiful. We have this one in stock too. There's another one called Charlene de Monaco. We don't have that one currently in stock, so I couldn't pick one for you, but that's a good one to keep in mind because it fits into this color palette. A little bit more pink, a little paler. And then this one, this is my new obsession this year. Every year I have a new one that I fall in love with. Last year it was State of Grace. This year it's Colette. This is a climbing rose. How gorgeous is this? So this is actually a great climbing rose that can go over arches, onto walls. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Cecil Bruner because it really produces a lot of flowers, but it has that really beautiful apricot-y color inside. And then the more apricot pinky ones, they just pair so fantastically together. So whether or not you're bringing them inside or you're just trying to match roses to dahlias in your garden and have a really beautiful, like well thought out color palette, these are just so gorgeous together. We have quite a few of these ones in stock. The Colette, I'm not sure if I said the name, but Colette's just absolutely gorgeous. So, so pretty, loaded with flowers. You know this one's going in my hat today. It's just absolutely beautiful. So they pair very well. And this goes well with kind of any colors. You can get away with putting yellows, really simple whites. Works really well too because it's a really versatile color. It really has become popular just because of florists, and it's really, really popular color. If you've been on Pinterest, say you're planning a wedding, and you're looking through Pinterest or looking even through Instagram, you really notice that this is the color palette that everybody is really going for right now. It's that kind of beigey, blushy, beautiful color, pairs really nicely with white or with cream colors, so it's become incredibly popular. And that's really pretty much that you got to do with the dahlias. They're really, really simple. Once they start dying down, what you want to do is just kind of let them be. The longer you can leave foliage above ground for any kind of bulb or tuber or rhizome, the better it's going to be next year, because the foliage is photosynthesizing and building up all the sugars into the tubers for next year. So you just want to let them kind of do their thing, and keep them above ground as long as you can possibly handle it, because it'll be bigger and better next year. So try to be really patient. You can cut them down if they're starting to look a little scraggly, but as long as you can leave that green growth above the ground, the better it's going to be. And then as they totally start really dying down, just cut them down, leave the bulb in the ground. Don't really worry about it, and it will come back again for you next year. Once you start seeing growth for that next year, the time to start fertilizing is when you see that new growth coming above the ground. Then you can start fertilizing, and then once a month from there, until they're really done flowering. Once you don't have any flowers on them, I cut back the fertilizer on them, and then just keep them watered and leave that foliage above ground as long as possible. But that's it. So simple. Makes you look like a master gardener. Super impressive. All my friends, whenever they come over, are absolutely impressed with these dinner plates because they're just so big and so showy, and you're getting like an 8 or 10 inch flower on each one as they get more mature. So it's just incredibly show stopping, which is amazing. And that's it for growing dahlias. Super simple. So come in, check out all of our dahlias here. They're an exclusive here to Rogers Gardens, so this is the only place you're going to be getting these guys. You can always get the tubers again in the winter time, but now we have them grown and beautiful and ready to go. I would suggest up potting these into a larger container. You don't have to do that this year, but I would do it as you're storing it for the next year. If you're going to keep it in the container, they do great in the ground. Just leave them. Make sure you remember where those are so you don't accidentally dig them up. That's the one thing I always say. For anything goes dormant, just try to remember where that is, so when you are gardening while it's dormant, you don't accidentally dig up that bulb and then you feel, oh no, I just dug up my dahlia bulb. But that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for tuning in. I love talking to you every Thursday about what our plant of the week is. It's always something really fun and exciting and something exclusive to us, and it's something that it always gets me so passionate, and this is a particular one. Dahlias are my all-time favorite flower, so it was really exciting to get to talk to you about that today. Do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. Thank you,
Okay,
Sarah.
yeah.
So the first question is about, hold on. How often do you use the 3-in-1 spray, or do you have to only use it when there's actually a problem, and when do you use the oil?
Okay, so I'm not a fan of oils. They're okay. I shouldn't say they have a place in every single gardener's, arsenal. But I don't like to use the oil straight. I am wary of oils because of a couple of things. Plants are, and I say this so many times a day when I'm talking to all the guests that come in here, plants are so much like people. So if you put oil all over your skin and then you go stand in the sun for 6 hours, you're going to burn. So that happens with plants as well. So you have to be really careful about when you're using oil, especially straight. So we're talking neem oil, horticultural oil. You got to be careful with those. I don't mind mixing them with other things. So oils and insecticidal soaps together, I think work pretty well. But straight oil, I'm not a big fan of. The reason I like to use this one, the Rose 3-in-1, and I really do only use this when I'm seeing some kind of issue. I don't do a lot of preventative spraying on plants because if there's nothing there, you're just wasting the spray and you're wasting the product. It's not bad for the plants, but you're just basically wasting money. So once I start seeing something on there, then I start spraying about every 7 to 10 days. And depending on how bad it is, maybe it'll take me a little over half a month, maybe about a month to correct the problem. What I really battle with is powdery mildew because of my proximity to the beach. So once I start seeing that hint of powdery mildew, so it's usually kind of a white looking, sometimes fuzzy, maybe not, I take that piece off. I take anything I see that has it on there as much as I can without totally defoliating and making it look unattractive. I throw it directly into a trash can. I wash my hands, I come back out, and I spray the whole entire thing with this, and I get it pretty saturated. I would do the same thing if I'm seeing aphids or anything like that. Typically, if I'm seeing aphids or whitefly, I hose my plant down to knock off some of those bugs. I do this all first thing in the morning, and then I wait for it to dry, and then I spray it with this. So most of the time, you're doing it every 7 to 10 days, usually only when you're seeing a problem there. I typically shy away from oils. just because, and also too, I find they leave a sticky residue on my plant, and then everything sticks to it, dust and dirt and grime. If I get it on my house, mine is up, my rose garden's up against my house, it leaves an oily residue on my paint. I have a window nearby. I've had to clean that window a million times from oil, so it has its place. Not my favorite thing. That's why I like this one so much, because it's so much cleaner, so much easier to use. Any other questions?
Could you actually name all of the products again?
Absolutely. So I pretty much have 3 or 4 things going on here. This is your monthly. So this is, I always talk to people too, kind of in things of how it relates to humans. So this, I say, is kind of like your vitamins that you're going to take. So this is something you're going to give your plants once a month. This is the Down to Earth. It's the rose and flower mix. The all-purpose will work as well, but this has a little bit of a higher number here in the middle, so it really flushes out that bloom on there. So this is one that I use once a month on my plants. Just pick whatever date you're going to remember, so then that way you don't forget to do it. I always do mine at the first of the month. The directions are on the back, but I use about a half of a cup to a fourth of a cup, depending on the size of my plant, just around the base. So Down to Earth, rose and flower. This one is the Malibu compost tea. So I talk about this one. This is like your probiotic. So this one's going to add all of the good bacteria, all the good mycorrhizae, which is like a fungal thing that grows in the ground and attaches to the roots, supports all the nematodes. So it supports all the good live activity in your soil. It makes your plant take the fertilizer up way better than just using the fertilizer alone. So if you're already doing this, throw this into the mix, because you'll really notice the difference. So this is the Malibu compost tea. It comes in a couple of different kinds. We even have a house plant one right now, but this is a rose flower flowering one. We have a tomato one. We have a general all-purpose one, and we have a house plant one too, which is really amazing. The spray I like to use is the Safer brand. This is and specifically the Safer brand is the one I like the best. Safer brand rose and flower 3-in-1 garden spray. And what you're looking for in here, this has insecticidal soap. So it's potassium, salts, a fatty acid. That's a very complicated name for insecticidal soap, and sulfur. So it's the 2 things mixed together in here. There is another rose 3-in-1 that has neem oil in it. So again, not a huge fan of the neem oil, so this is the one I always use and have on hand. And then these Coronas, I love this. This is Corona brand pruners. These are the long, skinny kind of blades, rounded tips. It even says rounded tips prevent plant damage. That's their marketing point. But yeah, it really does work. These are the thinning shears. I absolutely love these. So if you've got a lot of roses, you've got a lot of dahlias, or any kind of flowers you like to cut to bring inside, these are really a great thing to invest in. You will definitely notice a difference in using these. It makes it so much easier and prevents a lot of damage and a lot of breakage, which also causes heartbreak on cutting things back.
Okay, can you name all the roses that you picked?
Yeah, let's do those again one more time. So I don't have the Princess Charlene de Monaco in right now. We don't have it in stock either, so I didn't want to tease you with showing you one from my house. But it's a really beautiful one that works very well on this palette. So this one is called State of Grace. This is so beautiful. Very reminiscent of the Distant Drums, but has a bigger flower count and has more of that old-fashioned kind of opening to it. So kind of a little cupped and chaliced, but has that really nice flat petal count. I just absolutely love this one. So this is State of Grace. Again, so pretty, right? This one is Distant Drums. So he's already getting a little smidgy wilty, but this is just in drums, not totally open. This one particularly has a lot of that apricot-y kind of almost Dijon color in there, but this is the Distant Drums rose, smaller rose. What I really like about this one, this was the last one on the stem, but this one had some buds on this. So if you pick these ones a little early when there's some open flower on the end and some buds and some newly opening, it's so great. Right there you've got 3 flowers in one on just one little stem. So Distant Drums rose, and then this is my personal favorite of this year. It's hard to not have favorites. So every year I have a new favorite. This one's called Colette. Isn't that beautiful? Colette is a climbing rose. So Colette, when you put them all together, you can just see how beautiful these all pair so perfectly together. Colette reminds me a little bit of the Cecil Bruner rose. So if you are familiar with climbing roses and you know Cecil Bruner, this one is very similar to that. Really produces a lot of flowers. That's such a beautiful big flower for a climber, in the way that it has a big petal count and that kind of old-fashioned-y sort of look to it. And it has multiple buds. You can see this one has a couple of buds getting ready to go there. But this is Colette, and we have quite a few of these in stock right now too, but this is my new personal favorite right now. It smells so good too. It's got a great smell. All of these ones smell good, but this one particularly smells nice.
Can you grow them in pots, like just keep them in the pots?
Yeah, absolutely. I would bump them into a larger pot than this for the next year. You don't have to do that this season, so you can get this, plunk it down where you want it, walk away, done, which is really great for the whole season. It's totally fine. I would bump it into a larger pot to keep it for the next year. You can always too, once it starts dying down, you can add some annual stuff around the base of it. So then that way you don't just have an empty pot of dirt there. It is something you can always push into a side yard as well and let it sit there and get it ready. You want to bring it back into your garden at the beginning of spring and start watering it. And then I always love to plant little annual stuff around the base of my pots. So then that way there's something else in there while I'm waiting for this to grow. It grows great in the ground, great in pots. It's so versatile. And again, it's easy. That's what I think is so amazing about this. This is the one thing that really makes you look like an absolute genius gardener with very, very little fuss to it and very little maintenance or anything special you really have to do. They're very simple.
Should you fertilize them when they're blooming?
Yes. So with this one, you want to start when they first start coming up out of the ground. So you're going to notice some little green growth on it. I slow down though, typically in the summertime. Most of my dahlias are mixed around other roses. So they are getting runoff from me feeding my roses. But in the summertime when they're really fleshed out, I pretty much slow down on the fertilizing, and I maybe do it like every other month. You could do it monthly though too. It's not a problem. It will keep your foliage nice and green and tidy, and give you some more flowers, but they're not particularly fertilizer hungry towards the end. It's more in the beginning. So once you start seeing that green growth pop out of the ground, that's your cue to start fertilizing every single month. Mine are not as big and full. So if you're looking at these going, oh my gosh, I'm growing dahlias and mine don't look like this, that's totally okay. These are big and full and have been grown in the greenhouse to be nice and full and ready for us now. My dahlias at home are still pretty short, maybe about that tall. I don't even have any buds on any of mine yet, so don't worry. This is a time at home when I'm fertilizing every single month. Once they start looking like this and they're really kind of almost bloomed out, like I'm not noticing any new blooms on mine towards the end of the season, that's when I slow down on my fertilizing, and they're only getting the runoff from me fertilizing my roses.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Someone asked, my dinner plate dahlias fall over. What do you suggest? Is it because it's a brand new plant?
Yes. So in staking, that is something I didn't bring up. I use big bamboo stakes for mine. I always have them kind of tucked around all over my yard, and making sure that whatever tie, I'm glad you brought that up, whatever tie you use is something that's not going to cut into your dahlia. They are very soft. They never get woody. They're very herbaceous. So I like to use the garden tie that has the foam around it so I don't accidentally cut into it with any kind of wire. So if you're using like a traditional twist tie, like something you would see at a grocery store, we do sell twist tie, but the ends of that's a little bit sharp. So you got to be careful because that could cut into it and that can break your stem. So I stake with large bamboo stakes. They will fall over more when they're younger. They will also fall over more if they're not getting full sun. You can plant them, they really want at the least about 6 hours, but sometimes we don't have full sun everywhere in our garden and we want a dahlia there. So if you're getting less sun, your dahlia might be a little thinner. You still will get flowers, but less flowers that you would in the ultimate spot that they would be the most happy. But you may have to stake those a little bit more. So pre-staking is a really good idea too. I'm getting close to the point where mine are getting tall enough that I will pre-stake. It's so much easier to stake them when they're smaller and not so big than when they're big and monstrous and now it's falling over and you're struggling and ooh, you accidentally broke it. That's like the worst thing. So you want to make sure that you get that stake in there and you get it tied up and get it started as it's smaller. It just makes it easier for yourself.
Okay, that seems to be all the questions for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. It's so fun to do this. I love that I get to talk about the plant of the week because it's always something really exciting and really cool. And I love coming in and seeing what they are. And when I came in and saw that these finally came in, I think we've had them only for maybe a day or two. I got so excited because they're so pretty. I love this. I have this one planted at home. The color is absolutely great. I planted mine as a bulb. This is my third year going on with it, so I'm really expecting mine to be nice and big and full this year. We're going to get more of these on Friday as well, so come in and grab these before these are gone, and it's exclusive for us. They are right at the very beginning entrance when you walk in. If you don't see them when you come in, just come and ask us. For the Cafe Au Lait Dahlias, we'll have this sign there too. So look for this sign and you know that you're in the right spot. So thank you for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. My name again is Sarah Smith. I'm a horticulturalist here at Rogers Gardens. We do our live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, you're usually seeing Suzanne. And on Thursdays, you're seeing me. I'm typically talking about the plant of the week on the Thursday edition. Make sure if you're not already following us on Instagram or Facebook that you're doing so. That's where you're seeing these live streams. We always post them there too, so if you come in late you can always watch and rewatch the beginning part. And our YouTube page is amazing. There is so much content there that goes back and back and back, so you can see so much stuff. I always revisit some of our older videos to look and see what kind of things that we've had going on in the past and remind myself of things there. It's a really great resource to have. And if you haven't, sign up for our mailing list. On our mailing list, you're going to find out about all the new fun, cool things that we have going on, all the exclusive stuff, all the events that we have. We do so many amazing events. We have some new stuff coming up that I'm super excited about. So if you haven't already signed up, make sure you signed up because you do not want to miss the new event that we have coming up. It's going to be fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Put those comments down below if I didn't get to anything today, or if you came in a little bit late, put them there and we'll answer those for you. So stay well, be safe, and happy gardening. Bye.